And then we had...
Is this on YouTube also, on our website? Yeah.
Sorry. That's you.
And we're waiting on Mr. Franklin for a minute here. We're from what county? I was from Vegas.
Huh?
I was from Vegas.
No, I'm from Bonn.
Bonn. Okay. But you went to Highlands.
Yes, sir.
Get work done.
Okay, it's 2:02, and we are on May 16th, 2022, and this is our Finance Advisory Committee meeting. And with that, I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Francine Martinez.
Present.
Diana Martinez.
Present.
Mr. Alan Franken.
Present.
Robert Witters.
President.
Sharon Montoya.
Present. And also on the
Duran.
audience.
Eleanor Duran.
Present.
And Dominic Chavez, present.
Thank you. For those of you that don't know Dominic Chavez, Mr. Chavez is our interim finance director the present time? Or what was your
First
title?
day here, sir.
What was your title?
Deputy Finance Director.
Deputy Finance Director? Okay, well, maybe we're not at that stage yet, but his overseeing all the finances through the city of Las Vegas at this present time. Him and our city manager, Mr. Leo Maestas. And also we have Eleanor Duran, which is our also work in the finance department, and your title is?
General accountant.
General accountant, okay. I don't know if you guys knew, Mr. Vaqueras is no longer with the city of Las Vegas. So that position is vacant and being advertised. Okay? Another thing is we got a new member that was adopted by the city mayor and council, and his name is Bob Whitaker.
Witters.
Winters.
W-I-T-T-E-R-S.
Witters.
Witters, yes.
Witters. And Mr. Witters, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am retired. My wife and I moved here full-time about 11 years ago. We retired here from San Jose, California. We own property west of town. I am officially evacuated, so be nice to me. I'm in a delicate state. But I got to go out and see my property today for the first time in 2 weeks, and it's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah, very, very nice. And I was very, very pleased to see that. my past life, I was involved with several high-tech startups in Silicon Valley, and I was chief financial officer of several of those. And then my wife and I retired full-time and moved here and had a house built west of town.
And you also serve as airport committee?
I serve on the airport committee here, yes.
And what other committee, sir?
None others with the city. I serve on the finance committee with the West Las Vegas School District. So I know Dinah from that.
Okay. Well, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
We'll just take it a day at a time, step by step, and we'll move forward. Any
Sounds
questions,
good.
anyone? Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If Mr. Franklin, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. The next item, just a little bit of, since you're new here, we are also on YouTube.
Yes.
And it is on the website, and people can view it anytime, after the meeting, during the meeting, join us in the meeting. You can't ask any questions or anything like that, but they can always call you afterwards and ask you what you meant or what you said or anything like that. So we're here again for Mayor and Council for make recommendations to Mayor and Council, and we move forward with that. Thank you. Approval of the agenda. I'll stand for a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve as presented.
We got a first. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, seeing none, motion passes. Approval of the minutes of April the 18th, 2022. Has everybody got a copy?
I'll take a copy, Mr. Montoya. Do you have
You
it?
got a copy? There's a copy there.
Oh, for some reason, I put your photos. Thank you. I'll make a motion.
Got a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Dana, second by Ms. Benson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, seeing none, motion passes. Public input, do we have any, Mr. Chavez?
No, sir.
Okay. Item number 7, discussion items. Letter A, Resolution 22-25, increasing revenues and expenditures to Fund 217 legislative. Mr. Chavez.
Yes, sir. Requesting approval for Resolution 22-25. This budget adjustment was done as a correction to a prior bar that had taken place a couple months back. And so I was just adding $15,000 back to the revenue and back to the expense side to make that correction.
Now, this item did go through the Mayor and Council last meeting?
Yes.
Yes. Now, again, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we are having a reorganizational meeting on Wednesday, and I will recommend that we have our Finance Committee meeting that we have the City Council meetings on the 3rd and 4th Wednesday of the month. So that way staff has enough time to close out the books and have their recommendations before us the Monday before the 3rd council meeting. Because otherwise, things like this will always come back to us when they've already been approved by Mayor and Council. Okay. Does he have any solution? It's basically a formality, since it's gone before Mayor and Council already.
Like I said, Mr. Chairman, this was a correction of a prior bar. That one was done, there was a decrease and shouldn't have been done in the first place. So this was just putting it back correction.
So it's not any additional income or revenue that was coming in, it's just an adjustment just to make the correction.
But of course, because of the prior bar, it had to be done in technical council for DFA purposes.
But it wasn't a finding on the audit report, no, okay. Okay. Any other questions, concerns? No? We'll move on to letter B, which is update of preliminary fiscal year 23 budget.
On that, we are at about close to completing the preliminary budget. We're about 90%. I've got several meetings tomorrow afternoon with the city manager, transportation, community development, and just general fund with the city manager. That's supposed to take place tomorrow between 2 to 5. So we're getting close, but our deadline is June 1st. And so I just wanted to give you guys an update on that because it is a large project. There's a lot went into it, and limited time, limited staff. It's been a task, but we're getting there. It is preliminary. We turn that one in June 1st, and then our finals due July 31st.
Any salary increases?
We budgeted just our regular, because we have the AFSMI, and so we budgeted an extra 75 cents per hour on across the board.
Are you looking at any budgeting for mayor and council?
No, sir, I have not. Well, in reference to salary,
No, not salary, in reference to travel or training or?
that's been done, yes, sir.
Yes, okay. And I know that on the audit, we showed finding of the suppression system not being in place for our finance and records department. Is that included on this budget to get addressed?
Yeah, we're still, if I'm not mistaken, in the last meeting I listened to, you guys had discussed the fact that they were having problems getting quotes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Kenny's still working on that, and that is going to be put into the budget for FY23 because it won't happen this year for sure.
Mr. Montoya,
Yes.
can we add that to the agenda for next month, just an overview on the prior year audit? Can we put that on the agenda in discussion
What
for this
item?
meeting? The audit.
The audit findings?
You weren't here.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
We
Yeah, were you
we had
already
them last,
sorry? Oh, you did?
we had them last meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
you missed out on
oh,
it.
sorry.
Right, yeah.
You missed, Dinah.
No, and if you look in the minutes, there was 7 findings, I think 6 or 7 findings that we
Yeah.
discussed.
Yeah. And I think the most concerning one was, I guess, the non-reporting and neglect of reporting from 501c organizations.
There was one also on a journal entry, and I know that we don't get to see those, and I just read it on the newspaper that there was a journal entry that was flagged for, I don't know if it was just a transfer of expenditures, was it for a prior year, maybe? No,
No, not that I recall.
into any of the COVID funds, no?
Well,
It was a
yeah.
timing issue. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Montoya.
yeah, it was, I'm sorry, Mr. Frank. Yeah, it was a timing issue that our previous economic development director prematurely issued out some funding before that funding either was received or was approved for
So there was a purchase
distributing.
order that was
Yeah.
not created prior to the
Well, it was out of the COVID monies that
Right.
that we got, that were not rightfully issued out. Yeah.
I think they were for support of businesses.
Yeah.
I think payments were made to those businesses that had applied and been approved,
Right.
and it hadn't been properly gone through the channels.
And then the other one was again the suppression system of the records.
That along with the IT disaster recovery plan,
Yes.
so those have been there for several years now.
And I can't recall the other four.
I don't have them.
It might be on those.
I noticed the IT, I remember reading the IT, but that's just a repeat.
I know, we'll probably be discussing this on Wednesday's meeting, mayor and councils, for budget adjustments for next year.
For budget adjustments in reference to?
In reference to maybe, more training for employees, for instance. Because now that we're out of the COVID, we should be sending more people for training
Oh,
in different departments. Yeah, and,
In regards to procurement?
again,
As far
budgeting
as-
for next year's budget, yeah. Making sure that we have, because I know that last year we had minimal training funding, and we had zero training for mayor and council to attend any kind of conference or anything like that. And those are important, and I'll tell you why, because this last year we did go to an outdoor conference in Farmington, and out of that, we made really good connections, and we were able to obtain those $325,000 to finish that block project on Railroad Avenue. Plus, we were able to get contacts to do outdoor trails and so forth, and look at other sources of funding. So those things are kind of important to, when we can be able to be informed and be able to go and talk to people and make those contacts, and then get back and apply for the kind of funding that's available.
So will council have the preliminary budget itself?
Yeah, Mayor and
To-
Council has its own budget for.
No, as far as the approval, it's due by June the 1st, so I'm guessing
yes.
mayor and council will need to approve it this meeting?
No,
No.
in June 30th, by June 30th?
they'll approve the final, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes in, starts going through the process, but the adjustments are made, and the final budget's approved later, where we'll get a chance to see it.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Mm,
Hopefully.
The thing is, right now it's going through
Time-wise.
the city manager and the directors, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sorry?
Right now it's going through the city manager and the directors. with you-
Correct.
With you
Well-
involved in it.
We've already met with the majority of the community, or directors, I should say. Like I mentioned, we have several more to go through tomorrow, which we'll be doing with the city manager and those directors, which is basically a city manager because he's in charge of community development right now. And those are the budgets we'll be going over. We gotta update the debt service, we gotta update the property tax spreadsheets, and then just verify that everything's looking good and where we want it to be, so that we don't have so many adjustments to do or make in the interim between preliminary and final.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I apologize if you've been through this, and I'm the new guy on the block, but are there any departments that had significant increases at this point or significant decreases in their planned budget for next year?
Yes, city manager's office had significant increases. City attorney's office had significant increase.
And what were the cause for those two significant increases?
That was by choice of mayor and council.
Okay,
Their salaries.
mainly salaries?
Yeah.
Okay, and
Significant decreases, no.
any others?
Clerk's office had an increase in salaries as well. No.
So there's a differential between these departments that you're talking about and the 75 cents per hour that's across the board for all
Yes, ma'am.
employees?
Yes.
And again, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but are there any new initiatives in this new budget that the city desires to do in the new year that would we be budgeted through the standard budgeting process, not grant funds or anything like that?
Training is one of the initiatives that.
Yeah, I gathered that that was gonna be one of the main
Right.
new ones, okay.
Training for employees?
Yes.
For directors, employees, and manager, and
Not only training outside, but is it also cross-training within your, in your?
Yeah, that would be great. However, whenever you don't have staff to cross-train, it's kind of.
Cross-training is
there-
important if you're having a hard time finding, like right now, you're having a hard time finding, somebody. to,
Yes, agreed.
Yeah,
Very important.
so cross-training is very important.
In your soft monies, do you have any FTEs in any of your soft money? Any of the federal funds that we received for COVID? Ours are called ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, that's the name of our federal programs that we have going on, that are going to go away between, 2 years from now.
Right.
Did you have any of it?
Not FTE wise.
No? All your
And
FTEs
then-
are basically like in your operational budget?
Correct. I didn't, I mean, honestly, if you're gonna have, for a temp position, if you would, for
Mhm.
a short period of time, sure, but it would make no sense to try and put an FTE to me in some non-recurring funds.
And your anticipated cash balance for this fiscal year?
Oh, I couldn't give that to you off the top, no.
No?
other thing, Mr.
No, because it's too, well, because we have the general fund and the enterprise, so I wouldn't be able to give you a cash balance as of that. I mean, I could run a report that can give you.
If you don't
cash
know it off the top
balances.
of your head, that's fine.
One concern that I'm gonna bring up to Mayor and Council is, and the city manager, is that, this year we've had a lot of work being done in our parks. And we just started. And then we've done a lot of work to our streets. Last year we budgeted and we got a pothole machine, truck and so forth. And we got other equipment. But I'm gonna emphasize that we need to beef up the budget for our Public Works Department. Because that's something that needs to be done on a daily basis, actually.
Yeah.
But as soon as we can, that we're able to get asphalt out there on the ground, we need to get a lot of those streets repaired still. I know that's the number one issue for citizens. And the other thing, Mr. Chavez, is, so we have probably, I haven't looked at any charts yet, but I'm saying we have, we lack an economic development director. We have another open position there. We have pretty much a lot of vacancies in the city, in every department, and due to different circumstances. But basically, it's hard to obtain anybody to come and work at this time for the city. I think in the police department we have 16 vacant openings, maybe?
Officers?
Officers, yeah. Well, in the department itself.
Not that I'm aware of. I overheard somebody say 4 officers and then a couple of admin, but.
Well, I know that last time we had like 12 vacancies. Now, I don't know if that's still that number or not. But those vacancies, all those vacancies in the city, whether they're 30 or whatever amount it is, you're gonna be budgeting those to be included in it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And with that
Yeah.
goes cash savings.
Because that's a lot, including salaries
Cash
and
balance.
benefits.
Right.
Correct.
That's, but again, it's in the organizational meeting, also what can happen is that Mayor and Council can look at that and decrease the number of employees the city might have. Or if they're too overloaded in one department versus others, you can always make those kind of adjustments also.
Well, it's interesting that you would bring that up. My just quick initial read is that there is a large number of employees in the city. And if the city is having issues filling positions, maybe one of the reasons is the salaries. And if you could lower the number of employees and have a little bit more money to pay the existing employees, there might be a good incentive there and help fill the vacant positions. I don't know. I don't know if the city has done an analysis of that kind in terms of body count and what's needed and what's not needed. Because I'm guessing salaries and benefits are the huge, large part of the budget, overall budget. And it just seems from some of the accounts that I've seen and heard about, I'm assuming I was told correctly, that it does seem like it's a high number for the city. And just my guess, don't know for sure.
The mayor 2 years ago came in and said that the first thing he wanted to do was do an analysis to see where the city stood at, and that analysis hasn't been done yet. So we still don't know exactly where we stand as far as employee-wise. If some departments are, in the higher count area, or the least count area.
Yeah.
I know that in some of our areas, I know we have like 5 employees where you could run that place with 3.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. That needs to be done, that needs to be looked at. And this last year, what we did is, with the negotiations that went on, we tried to bring up most of the employees that were at the lowest in salaries, further up to mid-range, so that we won't have such a big gap or a big deficit there.
And this is you attempted to establish a fair salary for a position based on maybe cities of like kind and in the area.
Well, within the police department, that's what we had to do, because
Yeah.
Santa Fe
Yeah.
was competing with us, and they were taking our officers.
Mhm.
So that's come, they got a $4 raise, and we brought them up to, I think, $19 an hour. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Chavez?
18.
$18 an hour. And then I think we adjusted their insurance benefits percentage-wise.
No, sir, that was for fire department.
Yeah, or the fire department, we did that, yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah. But, go ahead, Mr. Chavez.
Sir, are we moving on to April finance report?
Yes.
Okay. So for the month of April 30th, 2022, 83% of the year, our general fund is at $11,153,921, which is 90% of the budgeted revenues. And our expenditures are at $10,048,484, which is 59% of the expenditures for this time of year, which gives us a surplus of $1,105,437. Our enterprise funds, revenues coming in at 85% for the month ended April 30th, and our expenditures at 69%. That gives us a surplus of $1,699,565. Our recreation center, the revenues coming in at 48%, and our expenditures are at 48%. We also have to take into consideration that revenues include the transfers that come in from the general fund. So your revenues are about $93,000 for the year so far. Your lodger's tax, the revenues are at 91%, and our expenditures are 56%, which gives us a surplus of $145,541.
Anything that stands out on the enterprise funds that would give such a gap in the budget, have such a surplus? I mean, it's nice to have a surplus, but
Right.
Employees.
maybe it's
right?
money we need to be spending, have a lot of employees, yeah.
I would, that's what I was just gonna ask, if the majority of all these employees that they're lacking are paid from the enterprise fund, and that's what would cause the increase on your,
We've got a large sum of them, yes.
revenue.
A large sum of them, yes, are from the enterprise.
Are we able to look at that surplus and maybe do a bar to pay our insurance bill that didn't get paid?
I listened to that conversation because I've never been to one of these meetings. I didn't know how to present. I didn't know what to do, so I listened to the last meetings.
And I'm not familiar with fund accounting either, so.
And so I have a check request on my desk for $235,000 for a purchase requisition to pay off the unemployment. And then I don't know where conversations came that insurance benefits weren't being paid and things of that nature, because that's not true. But in reference to the New Mexico self-insurers, that is true. Those invoices were not paid. The monies were budgeted. Do we have the entire budget in there? No, sir. No, we do not. But we've got the majority of it. So I don't know where the conversations came that we just don't have the money to do it. You know what I mean?
But is that invoice from prior years, or is it just from 1 year?
Last year and this year.
It was, okay, so it was from,
Yes.
so
Yes.
it was just these last two. Maybe it was just an oversight, possibly, because I know I received mine by email, you know.
Right.
Right, that's how it, so maybe could that have, you know.
Well, there was a transition in our HR director position here.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, there was a lot of things that,
Is it paid
Currently.
through accounts payable? Is that invoice paid through accounts payable? It is? Because I'm, in my department, I know that my HR doesn't have anything to do with it, you know. I know I receive it, and I'm really the one that'll go and administer it, you know. It's me and my comptroller, really, but it just probably was an oversight.
Mr. Becketta mentioned that
Mhm.
the city was discussing making monthly payments, a payment plan with the self-insurance fund. But we have surpluses, I think we have the finance. To me, it would be good to get rid of that doggone liability and move on and make sure we don't,
Is that where you normally pay it from? Out of this fund? Out of the enterprise?
It's paid out of all funds.
It's right, that's how ours is too.
Yeah.
Whatever department the employees are working from, the functions, and, yeah.
well, this was also property casualty, not just benefits. This
Oh
was.
my
It was it was the risk.
It was at risk, oh my
Mhm.
gosh. Ours is like over $1 million, probably at $1 million this year, how could that one, and this
So
is
I
only
can
200?
see, Yeah.
So maybe it was just that one portion that was, okay, I can see why you're
No.
saying it goes to the HR.
Ours is usually a prepaid, isn't yours?
Huh?
Isn't yours like a prepaid? Yeah.
We do.
In July?
Go to transfer, yeah.
Yeah.
They only give you 30 days, or
Yeah.
else they're gonna penalize you,
Yeah.
and they tell you that in the
Exactly.
packet, yeah.
Ours is done biannually. And so,
I get one separate from the general
it,
service.
it's just the full
It's not
package,
from there.
and it gets paid out twice a year, in half. Last year did not take place, and this year it has not taken place. But like I mentioned, we are also waiting on a little bit of information from some Mexico self-insurers in reference to the housing, because that's been off our books, so we need to get rid of that. And I'm not gonna pay anything that includes any part of that housing for this year, because we're free and clear of that for this year, half of
Sure.
last year. So I need to get an updated invoice. What I have right now is a statement, but I do have the line items and the revenue sources to get this taken care of, so it's just a matter of time. We'll make the payments. I've got spreadsheets and everything already all drawn up. I don't have them on here because this isn't my personal computer, but I have them on my desk, ready to go, ready to pay $1.3 million. So, was it looked into prior? I don't know, but after it fell on my desk, I researched it, I've got the information sitting on my desk ready to move forward.
This is for the payment for HUD.
Huh?
That's for the payment for what?
No, for New Mexico self-insures.
Oh, okay. And HUD, you've taken all that off the books already, as far as insurances and so forth?
Well, New Mexico self-insures has not, and
Okay.
so I can't pay an invoice that includes it,
Mhm.
because I don't know what portion goes to them,
Yeah.
or was for how it is, so.
So you're saying you're waiting for them to give you a breakdown
That's correct.
without housing on it?
That's correct.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the HR staff is working on getting that updated invoice.
Okay.
And we'll pay what we can, and if we need to budget the difference for next year, we can do so. But
So let me ask you, Mr. Chavez, so what mechanism did we put in place so that this won't happen again, as far as that missing of a payment? I know that there was personnel changes and so forth, that occurred during that time. What do we have in the process so that this won't happen again, so that we can?
the ball got dropped, that's all there is to it. It's in place, there's procedures on how this gets done, and it gets
Yeah.
done every 6 months.
Yeah.
It just, the ball got dropped, and that's the bottom line. And whenever we.
So if we don't get a bill, we just forget about it?
No, sir.
No, so that's what I'm saying, is if we don't get a bill, how are we throwing the red flag, hey, you know what, we have this amount of money here, and it goes somewhere, and we should be paying that insurance at that time, every year, whatever, every 6 months. So
Yes, just
what mechanism is that there? If you're gone, what mechanism is there for somebody else to follow up on that? There's not, or,
Well, yes, there is, by all departments.
oh yeah.
Both HR and finance, as well as any other departments, know that we've got these payments that are due at this part of the year or twice a year. And so the lack of keeping an eye on our budgets, I guess, is probably the case, because every department has this budgeted in their budgets, and if you're just not using it, well,
That should
you know,
been a
that's red
flag,
in
like you
itself.
said, in itself, for your
Right.
budget person, whoever is in charge of your budget, that should have seen that it was still there. There was no encumbrance or a year-to-date expenditure to
Well, then
show.
I'll take the responsibility.
You
for
know,
that.
to say, okay, well, why is there still so much, like even like your workman's comp, for example? Those ones, are going to be paid out, they should be.
Sure,
There's a
I'll take the
reason why you're.
responsibility for that. I won't point any
Yeah.
fingers, but
Well,
um,
and it's not
whenever-
really about that, we all make mistakes,
whenever.
But I think he was just trying to see how can we have
Avoid
this
it.
not happen again?
Yeah.
What measures are
Or
going to
ask
be put in
questions,
place
yeah.
so that it doesn't occur again, right? Second set of eyes, maybe when you look at it, maybe someone else can sign off and say, look, here's the expenditure report, can you just sign off here that this was, this procedure was done, okay? And that way, it's not just you to say, it's my fault, that's too big. I mean, can you imagine to take
No,
over
I mean,
the
but
responsibility of,
I
something
won't
like
point any
this?
fingers
Oh,
or
no.
anything of that nature.
Yeah,
but-
because this is a
Right.
really big budget, and if
Right.
you could have like
It's okay
a
to say there's
December
a-
meeting looking at the budget, everybody saying, what happened here is how come this hasn't been spent yet? Let's look at this.
Sure.
Yeah, and then it can get
Second
close to
set of
the
eyes.
end.
That's why it's
Yeah.
like important to show someone else
Yeah.
and not everybody knows how to read
Well, that's why
the
you.
expenditure
yeah,
report,
That's why you always have two people
To
cross-trained,
set- yeah,
exactly.
Two set of eyes to look at it and
Mhm.
say, can you sign off?
Yeah.
Okay, just like the journal entries, and I know that I would like for us to get to that point where we can see the journal entries that are being made on a monthly basis, okay? So
Well,
there's,
I think there is a process. that
Sure.
It comes to this person, and that person left, and this other person said they were gonna do it, and never got done, so it never went up the channel. So, but all I'm saying is, Mr. Chavez, is big ticket items like this one should be identified like throughout the year, and making sure that we don't overlook them. And it's just like a water bill in the city of Las Vegas and utilities. If you get a bill that's, 100,000 gallons, there ought to be a system to throw that flag up and say, hey, something's wrong over here, let's go check out the water leak or whatever. Same thing with budgeting, we should have something in place to where, another checkpoint, another flag. But we'll move on. So on like all this fire that's going on now and all this stuff, I know the police department have been working extra hours and so forth. Are we gonna have to be doing a budget adjustment coming soon for that? For the
Not
overtime?
yet, not that I
No?
can see yet. I mean,
Okay.
I think they find they've had significant salary savings in their budgets, so they might
Okay.
be able to sustain and pull right through.
No, that would be an item that we should keep track of so that our city manager can try and get reimbursement from either FEMA or from the federal government.
So the follow-up question on that is that I believe the usual way you do that is you establish an expense account that is, you believe to be reimbursable, and I guess there's several levels of reimbursement, right?
Mhm.
There's a FEMA reimbursement and a federal government reimbursement with different requirements, and maybe that requires 3 or 4 expense accounts that you can start dumping expenses into and collecting the receipts as necessary, so that later it's a lot easier to collect all this stuff, fill out a reimbursement request, and get that paid. Dinah, do you have any input on that? Because you do a lot of reimbursement requests, as I remember.
I won't create a fund, but you could actually just put something on a spreadsheet when you see whatever is going out, even like through accounts payable, if you're paying out for anything like
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Salaries now, if they were working overtime and, maybe you can put something together to, pay journal reports, as to what you want to claim,
Well,
And-
for,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
And it's so much easier to start collecting that now as things occur than
Sure.
it is to go back and recreate all of that 3, 4, whatever it is, months from now. Because I'm guessing that it's going to be some significant money that you're going to request reimbursement for.
So
Yes.
whoever does the payroll, that's the place to start, or just print out the pay journal, see if you paid in, like I said, the overtime.
Correct.
And a lot of
That way
this
you
has
can
to do
just
with
keep a log.
the police department and the fire
Or the fire
department
department, yeah.
that were on standby. Or
And we have already documented the dates that this started. And so very easily we can go back and run the pay code on these departments and get figures pretty rapidly. It's not, it's not separated like you asked, Mr. Witters, but it is a pay code, so we can go in there and just pull that pay code for this period of time and we'll know exactly what it was. Also, we set up a new pay code called emergency leave to have that separated out from any type of admin leave or whatever type of leave, because that emergency leave was granted and it was across the board. So that will be broken out all by itself as well.
and that's an internal policy that the city manager came up with? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because this fire, what happened is that it affected family members that are employees or their families. And as you guys all saw, Walmart closed down their doors because their employees had to go take care of their elderly or their relatives due to vacating them from their homes and so forth like that, or being on alert or ready stage. So we had some employees that were affected by that were vacated from their homes and stuff like that. So that's come our city manager went up and did an internal policy. And that's where that's coming from, a different code or line item for employees for that. But that is something that, we gotta get reimbursed for. Because I know we shut down for one day ourselves, due to whether the smoke or whether the employees had family members and so forth. So those numbers, they all gotta be organized and categorized, and so that we can see if we can get reimbursed for that, as well as overtime or anything that we dished out for the city.
And is there somebody, or several somebodies in the city that their job is to be the experts on what's reimbursable? They've read the codes or whatever is necessary, so that we can get every dime we can get from them, and we're not missing something due to ignorance maybe that we didn't know that could be reimbursed or whatever.
We do not have that type of staff. I know Mr.
I think that would be wise if the city manager had one or two people that were well versed in that area. I have one other question on this.
Yes, sir.
Your analysis at the very beginning was all based on what I would call a linear analysis. We're 1 month into the year, and so 1/12 is the number we're looking at, and then 2 months, and 3. Is the budget and the expending of budgeted funds pretty linear here in the city? Or is it what I would call lumpy, and therefore would be in need of a better analysis, not a 1/12 for each month that has passed?
It has fluctuated, but it's pretty much straightforward. I did notice, or have noticed this year, our expenditures have been less. Last year was the same, but it was because we were forced. We didn't allow people to just go buy whatever they wanted. They had to justify it. But, and I think maybe that helped out last year, because this year people have actually, I mean, of course there are some areas that are not so much, but for the most part.
Okay.
Dominic, just to clarify that, we had that question, Bob, early on, because, for instance, Dominic, I think, say your gas department, the revenue. If I'm not wrong, you budget that on a 12-month basis. But really, the gas is going to come in from, what, October through March.
Right.
Really, in reality, the budget would be heavy in those months. But I think, if I'm not wrong, we take a 12-month budget. Because we noticed in July that we were so far below budget on revenues on the gas department. Well, the cold months then picked that up.
Got it up, yeah.
So
Yeah. And
I don't think we're at that level on some of those line items.
Right.
So it does get a little skewed.
Mhm. Because you can make wrong decisions
Yeah.
when you don't have a linear budget, but you're now analyzing it on a linear basis. Yeah. Okay.
Next item is the.
You want a motion on that, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the finance
Do
report?
you need a motion for this? Do you need, is this going on Wednesday's council meeting?
This is going on Wednesdays, yes, sir.
Yeah, so, yeah, we'll go ahead and get a motion in a second on the update on the preliminary fiscal year 23 budget report.
Oh, we were on financial report, I'm sorry.
And
We don't have the budget, the budget. But I was talking about the April finance report that we just reviewed.
Yeah.
Right, this one, the budget balance
Yeah.
report?
Yeah. Well, you're calling that budget balance,
I
I'm
do.
calling it finance report, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Finance report.
I know where she's coming from.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'd go ahead and make a motion to recommend approval of the finance report to council.
And I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All those opposed, none? So approved. Next item.
April AP check listing.
Yes.
page 17,
Okay.
Kansas, it's a bank for 5,200. Mhm.
I asked Mr. Chavez to put it on there because not all of us have
Yeah.
computers, so.
Yeah.
And to use your phone, I get it. Now, Mr. Chavez, what we did is, with the committee is that
And I'm
we
looking
asked
at the
him-
bank, I'm sorry, sir, I'm looking at a bank transaction report.
Eleanor sends it out on the email, and they have it on their phones, but this way you can bring it up here, and then they have it highlighted already as to what questions they might have for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that the one that I have, or?
I think that's yes, I think
one.
that's the right one.
Yeah.
And what was the item number?
It was Kansas Bank, it was page 17 for $5,000. Could have been a garnishment or something to somebody,
Oh, I
or
think that's a lease.
payroll, or is that, any bond, I was kind of trying to, and I thought maybe a debt service payment.
Page 17, Dinah?
Yes.
Yes.
It's fourth from the top down.
I believe that's a lease payment.
Lease payment for,
Equipment, I could go and, this is the interesting part, is you can ask the questions, I can't remember every single transaction that goes to place. But because we're here, and I brought this laptop, I can close it for you. That's not the right number.
This says it's for the street sweeper. So he was right, it's a
I
lease.
have seen the new one going around. So you think that's the new
Yeah,
machine?
yeah, that's what it says on the, if you
Awesome.
look on the AP check, it says the description, the 2018 street sweeper, it's the May lease payment. And that, you can find that on page 30 of the AP check
the AP.
listing, yes. And this is a good example why I provide this detail, because there's, like like Dominic said earlier, there's too many transactions going on, and there's no way we're gonna remember every single thing that we paid.
But your committee always wants answers. I have to provide them within 24 hours, don't I, Mr. Wooders?
Yep.
I'll get back to you, sir. Yeah, there is. 30 days is a long time, and there's a lot of spending going on. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. It just took me a minute to get to that.
Any other questions? No, Francie?
Nope. Nothing popped.
Okay. We'll move on to our next item, which is item C. Mr. Chavez, do you have anything else for us that we should be made aware of?
No, sir, not at this time.
No? And just to bring everybody up to date, I guess Friday Frescoes was canceled last week, and the Gay Parade was canceled, and what else was canceled?
Mother's Day.
What's that?
Mother's Day was canceled.
Mother's Day concert was canceled due to the fire and due to the smoke. I don't know if they're rescheduled or not, but
Just the last Friday on the Friday Frescoes, or
yeah.
it's a Friday throughout summer, correct? If we can get back to that, 'cause I know
Yes.
it's very popular.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah.
How's everything, like the events? Are they
They're
gonna go
good.
by week, or?
Well, this was due to the fire. That's the only reason it was canceled now.
Yeah, but with the smoke?
Yeah, the smoke and the fire.
We're still on track for fiestas?
Yes. Now, we do have the fireworks
Yeah.
on the agenda for Wednesday, and we'll see what happens there. The governor has requested to ban them,
Sure.
so we'll see where we go from there.
I don't think anybody in town would have a problem with that.
Yeah, I
This year.
agree.
Well, last year we had a drought, and we're in the same situation, and we pulled off just the firework displays for the city. That was it. But the rest of it was all banned. So I don't know what we'll do this Wednesday. Any other questions, concerns, or anything like that that anybody has?
I have another one on the expenditures,
ma'am. Go ahead.
on page 19. Patillo, Brown and Hill LLP. Says it, final bill for FY21 financial,
Yes,
So auditors, yeah,
is that your auditor?
yes.
For how much?
Mm,
No.
but- no, it was,
And that's by RFP.
that was to pay the, was it the final bill for the auditor?
Yes.
I'm looking for it, I had it right here, where did I do
For
it?
$7,389.44.
There you
And
go.
it says final bill for the FY 2021 financial.
And there was
And
like,
then it cuts off, just
Yeah.
like mine, that mic job. It
Yeah.
cuts off, and I'm like, well, what's the rest here?
It's too big of a description.
Right?
there was like 4 people involved for about a week and a half.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you recommending the same auditor for next year?
Well, they have the
Yes.
RFP.
Or you have an RFP
For
going out
2
right now?
years? Is that 2 years?
3, but we
3
can-
years?
we have to go out.
We just got in last year.
You just got them last year, right?
Renewed them, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you're there in 30 years,
This is
Year 2, right?
something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, they did a good job, I'd say. With that, our next scheduled meeting is set for June the 13th, 2022 at 2 p.m., same place. If you have any questions beforehand or want anything else on the agenda, let me know, and we'll put it on there.
May I bring up one other thing right
Yes, sir.
now, if I could?
Yes, you know.
I've seen a funds report from the city, and it's got, I don't know, 2 pages of funds that the city has. Starting with 101, the general fund, and goes all the way to 771, something like that. And it appears like there might be some need for cleaning up a lot of this stuff. Are there a bunch of funds that need cleanup that the finance department could be working on? I don't know what that means. And sometimes the reports are a little bit confusing to me. I see fund statuses that have pluses in them, which kind of makes sense to me, and then I see some that have huge negatives in them on this fund summary report. And I was wondering what all that means, and is there any value in trying to clean that up and close out whatever is necessary?
There definitely is, and for 2.5 years that I've been here, I've been trying to clean that up and just,
And what
There-
happens?
there's-
No time for that, or?
well, there's
is-
not enough time.
Okay,
And then, the way the system was set up is they really added and just added and added. So like you're saying, I agree with you 100% that there's excess funds in there that could be condensed, whatever the case may be. And the same thing goes with our chart of accounts. We have charts of accounts, our chart of accounts is the size of Texas. But to go in there and delete everything that's not being used is kind of it's a task because
Yeah,
the system works.
I figured it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Did the auditors worry about anything like that?
They haven't said a single thing. But the way the reports are run, it eliminates the zeros. You can eliminate the zeros. So that kind of condenses it by itself.
Okay,
But
So what I'm looking at is a report that eliminates the zero, so there's even more funds that have been cleaned out, taken care of,
Right.
zeroed out, whatever the right word is.
Right.
Okay.
There's quite a few that are zeroed out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but they might not have been a beginning year zero, might be an end of year zero, or they're gonna still show up.
For now, yeah.
Is there an active check and an inactive check on those
There is.
that might need to be cleaned up?
What surprises me is that you didn't get an audit finding for it, though. You know what I'm saying, for any of like the negative accounts that are probably in there, right?
Yeah.
Negative meaning that we went over budget? Is that what you're saying? or-
Well, the fund balance doesn't necessarily mean that it has budget, it's just saying what, as to how much you probably have in that fund, right? But
So-
if there's negative balances, I haven't seen that report, but he's saying that there's negative, that there's some that are positive in there, but then there's some that are negative.
Well, let's do just a fund test case. Fund 217, Special Legislative Appropriation. Variance, minus $1,243,840.35. Should the Finance Committee be worried about that negative number?
And if it's a legislative appropriation,
Yeah. Is it, that,
I don't know how the city's
that a
works,
reimbursable
but
fund?
mine would be a reimbursable. That-
Okay.
In other words, they went out and they already
Spent
expended the 1.2, and now they need to do a drawdown to collect the 1.2.
Okay.
In
And
my field of work at my job, I don't know how it
Yeah,
operates
yeah.
here, but
but that sounds like quite a drain on the rest of the budget, waiting for 1.2 million. Unless somehow that was all spent in a month or something like that. Fund
No,
217.
not really, if it's a $3 million. If it's part A out of 3 different parts
Mhm.
that you're withdrawing,
Yeah,
you know.
okay.
I don't know if that would be for the rec center or not, I mean, for the Rodriguez Park,
Yeah, well, there, in Fund 217, there's quite a few.
For the softball?
for the complex,
Yeah,
because we got 3.2 and they might have already spent $1 million. And they're waiting for that money to come back.
yeah.
Just need to report it. I don't know if that's 217 or not.
Yes.
Yeah, and this report doesn't tell me how old it is.
So what was that figure, 1,071,000, is that what you're saying?
217? Let's see.
Yeah, 217.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. What was the figure?
This is a variance, and it's minus 1,243,000, and minus means unfavorable variance, according to this report.
Okay. There's your expenditures right there, and that, your budget available expenditures in that fund right there,
year to date, to like this year, this fiscal year?
right now. So 5,438,37.
And the other thing that grabbed my attention was the summation of this report, when it adds everything up. It says that there's a 11 million favorable variance across all these fund reports, fund accounts, which is quite a chunk of change. And if it's just a reimbursement issue, but I think it's more than that, because the general fund is, yeah, it goes into a lot of other details.
Did you get that through the airport committee? Is that how that,
No,
no, just, know where to look.
And who to ask?
What is he looking at? What is that?
Oh, I don't know.
Huh? It's a fund balance report is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah,
but-
it's what I would call a fund balance report.
Right.
It's a budget report, account summary, fiscal year 21-22,
Oh, it's current.
period ending in 3/31.
Right.
So it's a.
And it's old, it's not
document.
absolutely current.
Yeah, but
I
it
think
is
that's
for
how
this
come I
fiscal
was
year.
able to get it.
Well, maybe Mr. Chavez, you can look at that and then
Oh, gosh.
maybe next time give us an explanation of what, if it is a tool that
Yeah.
we would be able to use to help
Sure.
understand where the city stands finance-wise, maybe that'd be great for us to have.
Right.
At least understand it.
I'm sorry?
Are you documenting anything that I need to get?
Right now it's budget season. Okay, you're gonna put all this in the back.
Yeah, I could imagine what Mr. Chavez has on his plate now.
Oh, my gosh.
And we're asking for more.
Right?
Is it just you two?
Brand new department. right?
One more.
One more?
Yeah,
About,
but whenever you've got,
Mr. Chavez, are you interested? I feel you.
very well maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
give you the sign of the cross.
We need it.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and call this meeting an adjournment, and we'll meet back on June the 13th of 2022. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
First, you got a second?
I'll go ahead, Francina.
I'll second it.
Francine? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, seeing none. Thank you all,
Thank you.
and we'll see you on the 13th.
Where is your house, Bob?
Out San Geronimo way.
Okay.
You go out to San Geronimo, you turn left,